ProfessionalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Frivolity. Where are we here? It is 5 minutes past the top of the hour. Sorry, everybody. Started a little bit late here today. I was really out of it earlier today, so my apologies. Probably not going to be the best report here for you guys today. All we can do is try our best. That's what my co-captain here said a few minutes ago. Of course, he's on the ball. This show really couldn't get off the ground and hum the way that it does on a consistent basis without him. So thank you, Chris. You are awesome. And actually, interestingly enough, I think I encouraged Chris to make some money today when he wouldn't actually otherwise not really actually have taken a trade today. So there's a convenient side effect of working with the Beamish. Hopefully, I'll put a couple bucks in his pocket. I don't know whether it was real money or Top Step Combine money or whatever. But anyway, happy, what day is today? Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. Panacook Day. Chris said that he did hear from Sjord, but I haven't heard from him this morning. I haven't talked to him, so hopefully he'll be along here for the after party. We'll give you a half decent, diverse basket of wisdom here today. Wisdom, hopefully it's wisdom. But anyway, so always want to try and be the demonstrator of best practices, but I was all up full of piss and vinegar first thing this morning, and was ready to go, taking opening range trades and the whole thing, and let the trade slip through my fingers, and just wasn't in a good mindset following that. So I kind of did a half-assed job here this morning. After I let that trade slip through my fingers, I kind of was like, the problem with I'm trading crude oil right now, and the problem with me is here in crude, I don't really like to take trades at the POC or at value, or probably the POC's the best word. VWAP kind of idea. So first thing this morning, I was very leery about wanting to take anything, and sure enough, you can see it was just chop Vegas. If you went short, then it rallied right back up into basically the same level as that pit open. Then it worked its way higher, and I suppose you could argue that maybe we started to get some signals that maybe shorts were a half decent idea up here. But when I drew up all my levels, basically I have a rule that this is my trading plan. Trade location for me is the most important thing. So I start out my day saying, where can I take trades? I was allowed to take a short up against these highs in that wick. You always hear me talk about candle body highs for trade location. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. In that wick, of course, a whole bunch of trap bulls would like to get released. So don't have a problem hunting a short up in this area. And then conversely, same sort of thing, 4-hour tail, big candle body boom there. That was probably in a really important pivot level. We did come down into that just a few minutes ago, and it was just following the European close. So I could justify taking a long there. But as you can see, we didn't quite hit the horizontal support resistance level, and we didn't quite hit the moving average. So big hurry up and do nothing. And I don't like taking trades right at settlement. So as I said, I missed the opening range trade first thing this morning. Once I had missed that, I was just sort of like, you know what, I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to go, I took a nap. Because getting up at 4:45 in the morning sucks horse, you know what. So I missed the ORT trade. So I was like, I'm just going to go take a nap. So anyway, here I am back in the saddle. Talk about screwy worlds we're in, right? Oh goodness. I mean, it's interesting that Sjord happens to hail from a certain, actually that's not what I wanted to show you. No, it's irrelevant, but certain part of the world, and in a very bizarre, almost like you can't write better fiction than reality kind of thing. And let's see, we go our overview page. Um, there was a very, I mean, it's just a good anecdote. I don't know whether it's even really market moving or has anything to do with it at all, but it was such an interesting anecdote of the sort of the times that we're in right now. This gentleman over in in I think Brussels, yeah, of all places in the world, and I think he was a ISIS type person, and of course took uh, um, extreme insult to the Swedish people, kind of saying, you know what, we're not going to kowtow to the way the Muslims demand people to act in the world, and we're going to do what we want to do. And I think he wanted to exact some revenge, but it was bizarre. He went on like a killing spree. And what was really interesting, I mean, I was just watching the whole soap opera play itself out last night on social media and stuff, is that he was like just meandering around downtown Brussels for hours. And then eventually he actually got murdered. Oh man, murder sure seems to be the theme of our society right now. People are they're dropping like flies. So anyway, very bizarre world we're living in right now. But I suppose you could probably argue, you could probably pull these kind of references out of history, right, left, and center. So anyway, bizarre backdrop to and we're in this funny eclipse window, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we see more of this kind of really weird behavior right in through the end of the month. Econs wise, I mean, that's half of my job is just to sort of keep on top of econs. I have to say that the econs that I saw coming out earlier today were actually pretty optimistic of the economy. The problem here is this is probably one of those higher for longer kind of scenarios. So here we are Tuesday, right out of the gate. This is all the Americans. I suppose we could probably put everybody on here. Let's see, countries. Oh, that's interesting. Looks like we got everybody here, so I'm not quite sure why that's just showing US. There we go. All right, so Tuesday, I like to look at least 2 stars. I'll just keep it honest. Anyway, so, we had Fed speakers, and Chris was telling me that there's probably about 20 Fed speakers here this week. It's interesting as we're going through this eclipse cycle, and this, of course, is the time when we probably should be expecting some sort of market dump, panic, ultimate bottom low. Fed's meeting in early November. They are out in droves, and every single day they're barking about one thing or another. So there's lots of them speaking today. That was another reason why I was kind of leery about being too active today with all of them barking. Good old China. Inflation rate actually came in better than expected. So that's encouraging. Month over month, you actually had a slight decline when the market was looking for an increase. Core inflation rate actually getting back down into that 2, still a little bit hot, right? There's no reason why they can lower rates. And the sort of headline number there, still up in that 4% area, but actually quite a bit less than what everybody was expecting. Is this a function of food and energy prices? If I understand correctly, I think the housing insanity is starting to calm down. I did notice quite a few comments in the lounge overnight, people chit-chatting about how real estate prices in their respective parts of the world were starting to calm down. So I suppose that's a good sign. I've said repeatedly that what actually needs to happen here is something around the world needs to break. I don't think it's the US market, and the data coming out of the US market is uber strong. The gentleman that I highly respect in the market, Mr. Druckenmiller, He was very, very upset at the, and I think he sort of speaks to the actual moneyed class. People actually know what they're doing in this society and make just ridiculous amounts of money. And he was, I think he basically gave a shot across the Fed's bow and said, "What the hell are you doing, you idiots?" When they had these retail sales numbers at like 20% annual growth rate there through the sickness economy, which was, that was basically the fuel for this inflation stupidity that we live in. He had pointed it out. So I always do like to check in on retail sales. And more importantly, if I'm not mistaken, I think we also had the Johnson Red Book out here this morning as well. Although I don't see that. Maybe that was later on. Maybe it might have been just deemed because it's funny how you get like reports that sort of are in vogue and then out of vogue. But you can see there's the Johnson Red Book. It came in 4.6%. So that's still pretty hot. And the retail sales headline number came in at 0.7. If you annualize that, that's like 7%. That's month over month increase though. So point here is just that you can see the market was looking for 0.3. If you want that number, it's going to reflect, what the consumer's thinking away, spending money and all that kind of stuff. This is double what's supposed to be. So you could make the argument that the Fedsters might even look at this and say, you know what, this is still running way too hot. So you can see there's retail sales year over year. They were looking for 1.5%. That would be sort of in line with the Fed's getting what it wants. And it came in at 3.8%. Way, way, way too hot. So there's no way in hell the Americans can lower interest rates anytime soon. The question really ultimately is, it's interesting how these higher interest rates are starting to have an effect on things like China. And of course, China itself is an absolute shit show. So, it doesn't surprise me, countries like Germany, China, and all these other countries that, sort of, well, hey, we're living in a whole new world order. The Americans are going to remind you who's actually driving the bus here. That doesn't surprise me. So anyway, point of the matter here is data, the retail sales numbers coming out of the States, which really were the main driver here first thing this morning. They came in pretty strong. I don't see any signs of any break in the US economy. What I find interesting about this is, the stock market is supposed to be our ultimate leading indicator. And I found it interesting that our breadth indicator, which just is killing it. I mean, it just had an absolutely incredible signal there. I don't know which window this is. Let's see, was it this one? Yeah. Breadth indicator actually turned back positive. I don't know. I mean, maybe we buy when it snows, sell when it goes. Maybe this bottom's going to come in relatively early this cycle. I don't know. Remember, we did have a situation back here where the country funds did actually go extremely oversold. And I've told you guys before, this is a great way to use this tool. Is if you ever see that date right there, October 3rd. Oh, let's see if I can just move that over there so I can. Come on, you cooperate. Okay, no, there we go. All right, so a great flash of the world economy was in absolute, panic sell mode, and that might have actually marked a bit of a bottom. An interesting divergence how the American market has not gone oversold. Did go stupidly oversold here in the short term. We just never got the long-term pivot out of the American market there, which is, I suppose, one thing I was looking for, but it just didn't come in. But interesting anecdote. So, if you are a regular follower, if you're a subscriber of the breadth indicator, that data and stuff like that, I would, at the very least, take a screenshot of this. What does the market do when you see country funds all go uber oversold on both the short and medium term? And as I said, I was a little bit surprised to actually see this. The stock market is actually flashing a bit of a buy signal here. So if we go and look at price action, I guess kind of just, I guess that's a bit of an up candle there, right? Oh, come on. So is this gonna fog and bomb out here? Or we got some big ass bull flag where we're gonna launch ourselves higher? That's interesting. This was a AB equals CD level. It's a harmonics that I like to follow. We do teach this in our education program. So this is technically a trade location. And of course, my comments earlier about how I trade crude oil, same logic here. You can see how the 200 period moving average on this 4-hour chart is up against this previous high. So any kind of failure up in this area is technically a shorting level. I'm just curious to see how we act. That is a very wide double bottom. If anything, what this might even translate into is a new ABCD that goes from that low down there. In fact, actually the lowest there, isn't it? There to there, and then clone that bad boy, and there to there. Ooh, look at that right off the screen. So I could very easily see the market work its way higher here. And I suppose we could probably do that fog and bomb study off of this W. 2.618. Interesting. I often see the market run up and hit these midpoints of these fog and bombs as well. So interesting how that. But I think TBG is going to officially be our TRI's 1.618 guru. I bet that 1.618 off of this AB equals CD is that fog and bomb level. So let's see what we got here. We'll do bot trades. There are the levels, and we'll project that off of that low. Oh, interesting. 1.272. So which is also another valid alt ABCD level. So it's interesting. We're starting to get a confluence of levels that will be 78.6 off of this entire range. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm liking that level. Isn't that interesting? So 78.6, 1.272, 4.669, and of course, horizontal support and resistance. Maybe what this is creating is some big honking head and shoulders pattern. I could see that. And actually, that would make sense because I think that the market's going to get a little skittish around early November. So I could very easily see that we rally up into that Fed meeting, and then we roll over and we make some sort of shoulder. And actually, the rule is that the first week or so of December, let's see. Actually, it'd be really interesting to see whether you guys can read my mind. If you've been around long enough, you know exactly what I'm thinking. I will say irrational, and let's see if you can figure out what the other word is. Two words that describe a very historical event that happened right through this window. And I gave you the first words. I think it'll be somewhere right around there. So actually, I kind of like that. That would make sense. And also, too, FYI, this is going to be the sort of Black Friday event window. And usually what they do is they bid the market up into that. And then on that Black Friday event or right around that, actually get a bit of a pause. So this might even move over a little bit. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I'm thinking something along those lines. Excellent, Cotter. And actually, speaking of which, you want to see a freaking kick-ass stock. And hey, nice job, Nori. All right, so a couple of you guys. Oh, look, the Matador got it as well. Oh, good job. Yeah, well, it's a few people around the site. And actually, it makes sense. Nori, Cotter, Matador, you guys you're consistently here. So it makes sense that you would understand that. So nicely done. But speaking of Cotter, and actually, there's a song that's by they're kind of like a Northern European band, kind of fun. Guns and Ammunition. You can't. Of course, you can't play the music on these YouTube videos, or you get into trouble. But look at that beautiful bottom that came in on Cotter's guns and ammo stock. Guns and ammunition. I think, what do they call them? Oh, I can't remember the name of the band. They're really interesting bands. Girl and a guy singers, and the guy like is smokes like 3 packs a day kind of guy. He's got one of those voices, you know. Anyway, uh, but wow, Cotter, nice pick. Holy crap! So this is all Cotter. I'm in on this one. Thank you very much for the idea, and that just looks beautiful. What a pretty looking chart. So nicely done, sir. Really good looking idea. And you can see it's just rocking here today. My guns and ammunition do very different things. If you're looking for tradition, I'm castling my king. Oh, and you even know the words. You probably Googled that, eh? But anyway, so anytime I see this stock, I'm gonna be thinking of that song. Guns and ammunition. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, you're so cool. Oh, good for you. I will say this was another name that actually can't remember who it was that mentioned this yesterday, but what a good looking stock, eh? If I get that's a weekly price chart. If I get any, oh hello, and you've got a damn double bottom here now to work with. Jeez, I gotta go and buy this. Jesus H Christ, what a pretty looking stock. And I don't know whether you guys are sort of catching on to this, but speaking of trivia, and I always like to have this as a very interactive show. But what usually happens weather-wise around the end of October, beginning of November? Is there, specifically in the northern hemisphere, obviously, is there anything that sort of happens here that would sort of make sense why these charts are starting to look like this? So it almost looks like the bottom's coming in a little bit early this year. And actually, speaking of bottoms coming in a little bit early, there was a stock that I bought, and it's kind of riding on the coattails of Bitcoin. And I gotta say, Bitcoin's looking fairly firm here, so we might see some legs on all this. But it's actually looking a hell of a lot better now. I was really leery to let go of the stock because I like it, and it is the time of year. Um, this overstock. Look at that. Look at what's going on here now. So I was just sort of like, well, maybe I'll risk it. And then when I saw that happen, I was like, oh, fuck me. Now what am I going to do? And then it gapped higher. And I was like, you know what? I want to just leave this alone. It's in my retirement account, my registered account. And now look at that pretty chart. I mean, it looks like I'm long from a shitty level. But look at that W coming in now. Wow. And if that's the case, then that's actually probably pretty damn bullish of crypto because this thing usually runs on crypto. So I thought that the bottom was coming in here. Obviously, I was a bit early, but gee whiz, look at that bottom coming in now. So I kind of fucked that trade up, but nonetheless, looks like the gods are being somewhat kind to me. So that one looks pretty good. I also picked up a little bit of this QS recently. I like what I'm seeing here as well. So you can see how this thing's trying desperately to W out. We did make a new low here, but we did not go through any of these lows, which is really what I wanted to be risking against. But another name that, gee whiz, I mean, look at this. This Swiss cheese. If this thing does anything here, given that it is the buy when it snows windows, man, it doesn't surprise me to see a lot of these stocks looking like this right here. So, but also too, kind of in an odd sort of thing that they're not really the big, ugly, big blue chips. Something like Apple, I don't know. I look at that kind of chart. I don't really see a lot of opportunity here. I mean, I suppose you're probably going to be banging around in a pretty wide trading range here. But that doesn't look like Cotter stock at all. If anything, that looks the exact opposite to Cotter stock. This is the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see these big, beautiful W's and huge breakouts to the upside. They're almost like apples and oranges. So, I guess all told, as I said, I kind of had a screwy day because here was the opening range trade. You can see I And this is not an easy trade to take, especially if it's illiquid. The market just cranks in one direction and you miss it. So, I'm making excuses, but anyway. Um, Interesting how the stock market, and I guess Chris is about to tell me, time to shut up, Brian. Hey, there's Stuart. Stuart made it. Stuart, you ready to do this thing? Uh,
Yes, I am.
Hey, there he is. All right, cool. So let's wind this up. Suppose a final comment. I did show you that overstock chart. Also, too, if I'm not mistaken, I think this guy's also a crypto miner as well. So if he's looking like that, I mean, maybe you work a bit at the gap. I don't know. But if he's looking like that, gee whiz, there's another anecdotal piece of evidence that maybe the crypto stocks are turning. Probably for fun, we should look at MSTR. You don't really hear too much out of this guy anymore. But yeah, you can see the double bottoms trying to come in there. Don't really like the trade location. But I don't really like the trade location for Bitcoin here either. So, but anyway, the market will do what the market does. Excuse me. And I suppose the other one, big stock, I guess we're going to call it stock day today. Good old Coinbase. Yeah, same sort of thing. Not really overly impressed with the trade location, but nonetheless, you can see the W's coming in here. Yeah, I suppose we can get a nice little counter trend rally. There's a big old gap up there that needs filling in. And if you do trade these W's, probably a good idea to learn about chaos theory and how to use that kind of information. So interesting how 2.618 would take us
Hey,
right into that gap. Hello. All right. Thought I heard somebody say something.
de garage.
Well, there he is.
Bedoel je?
I don't think he realizes his microphone's on. Okay, so finishing off this comment here today for the free broadcast, then we'll pop on over and we will hang out in the after party a bit. Let's go take a look at our futures boys and see what they're thinking in the Bitcoin arena. We had our big sort of, I don't know whether that's real news or whether that was market manipulation yesterday. I get the feeling it was market manipulation. It was interesting to see how they basically rallied the market right back into a reload short zone. And actually, it had a whole bunch of confluence of levels. You heard me make reference earlier to TBG. We want to turn him into a 1.618 guru. But anyway, actually, very similar to that stock market chart I just showed you earlier, but it was a 127 for the stock market. But AB equals CD, Alt AB equals CDs, 78.6s, 2.618, Foggenbaums, that kind of thing. Not a big surprise that that was rejected. The question here now, $64,000 question. If we look at these futures contracts, this is October, so it's probably going to expire here fairly soon. Maybe we'll just go back over to the cash market. Do we actually W out on the other side of this trend line? What I'm worried about here is when you actually look at this price chart, just keep it simple. In fact, you know what? Maybe we'll just even, what time is it? Yeah, I got 2 more minutes. So we'll just try and keep this as simple as possible. This is actually the big tell. If there was going to be a point in the literally the past 6 months price action that you need to pay attention, this is it. I suppose we can get rid of those funny little notations. All right. So hopefully what you can see here is this has been, and really I think it started here back in March. So yeah, this has basically been 6 months of just the biggest fractal in the universe. So, all of this past 6 months is all boiling down to one range setup here now. Do we go and M out? And that's it. And this rally, and it was kind of a bullshit rally. It wasn't real. Notice how we rallied right up into these wicks. So we released all these trap bulls. I suppose there's a bunch of trap bulls up here as well. Uh, that would qualify as a head and shoulders event window. And also notice too, the volume is just disappearing here. And wow, what a beautiful analogy. In fact, we'll have our stock pickers club meeting tonight. But there is the most beautiful analogy of volume divergence there, where yeah, the market's moving higher, but where the hell are the buyers? They're gone. So if this, the point here is we are now into the big tell. And, if you're a bull, okay, fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being bullish. What you really got to see now is you got to see some sort of bullish market structure to take us higher. As I said, we did get the trend line break. So that's encouraging. The question is now, do we get a W? And you remember a week or so ago, I was saying, well, are we just going to walk our way down this trend line? So they did reverse it back up, but that's just a V bottom. What we really need to see, in fact, you could, let's go with this. What we really need to see is quite literally, this should set up, if this is a bull, this sets up one of my bullish bot setups, right? Where you want to see one higher low, two higher lows. My bot, I need to see three higher lows because I'm a chicken shit by nature. But if this is a bull, this is where the bull has to step up. And what's concerning here is that what the hell's going on here? Something's just not right with this picture. So, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to predict what's going to happen here because this could quite literally go both ways. It could do that, or it could crap out. And that's a confirmed fractal top, which means we should go the distance from the head down to the neckline, down into support, which probably would be actually, interestingly enough, technically healthy, because really all it would imply is just a test of the original bottom, Wyckoff check, and all of these trap bears would get released on some sort of dump into that tail, which you've seen repeatedly around TRI. So, I mean, this wouldn't be shocking. So, the point here is you've been patient and disciplined and really haven't done anything over the past 6 months. Maybe you've been playing in the altcoins. I know Eddie's got a whole bunch of names. He was even telling me there's a couple of really cool names. Maybe in the after party, we can take a look at them. In the altcoin space, you've seen that silly loom, but notice that loom now is rolling over and it's looking awfully tired now. So the point here is that now is where we need to see that bullish structure come in to actually, and we really would like to see some volume, please and thank you, to actually confirm that this thing is actually a bull. I'm from Missouri. I'm not going to assume anything here right now, but if we can get a nice W to form through here, then we got something to work with. I think that's probably a really good sort of summary to leave the video off on. It is interesting to see that the algo did turn back bullish. So, the computer is long right now. Interesting how the stock market has turned back up here now. So I don't know. Let's see what happens. The table is set. Now what we need to see, does anybody actually show up and actually do some buying here to launch this thing higher? So, okay, I think I'm going to leave the free broadcast at that today. That's about a half an hour, so that worked out pretty good. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. We'll have a great conversation with Mr. Pennacook here and see what's going on in his neck of the woods. Of course, remember from the beginning of this broadcast, I mentioned that things are a bit challenging in his area of the world. So we'll see how he's doing, and fingers crossed, PMA for the win. All right, everybody, all the best, and bye for now.